Let's call the order of the meeting, December 5th, 2022. Would you please stand and join us for pledge? We have our flag over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up are the warrants. Where's the sheet? There, boy, we're messed up. Okay. So I have the general fund warrants dated December 5th, 2022, in the amount of $38,020.45. Nothing really popping out on this one. We got some fuel. Of course, everybody knows the price of fuel is up nowadays. It's pretty much regular stuff. Anybody want to make a motion to approve that warrant?
I make that motion.
Yep, second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Brian, you have the payroll warrants.
I do, 2 payroll warrants. First one is dated November 25th, 2022. It's in the amount of $39,224.74. This one does contain the agency checks, that's why that was up a little bit. But it's in line with what we usually have. Second payroll warrant is dated December 2nd, 2022. This one did in the amount of $47,488.25. If you're looking through, there's no agency checks, but it looks like, Anna can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's kind of like the vacation pay that they could buy and the health insurance.
Yes, yep. Cash in lieu of
Cash in lieu of health insurance, so otherwise everything else looks good. And I'll make a motion that we accept both of these payroll warrants as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jack has infrastructure development in the Stonehouse warrant.
Okay, infrastructure development, warrant in the amount, we had action moving $68.95 and Superior Communications $35.70.85. And this, I think, is mostly to do with moving,
moving town hall.
right, for a
Yep.
total of $1277.50. The Stonehouse warrant was $150 for somebody to play Santa at the Holly Jolly Jamboree, 2 hours at $75 an hour. Boy, Santa's
We had Santa.
getting up there.
Santa is,
Hey, well, everything's going up, Santa too.
Santa's reindeer were expensive.
Did he say if it was due to COVID?
No.
Look at everything else.
No, I didn't see that on the invoice.
So, yeah, I make the motion we approve these 2 warrants.
Okay, 2 warrants on the floor, everybody got a second?
Yep, second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there's the warrants, and in your packet, you have the warrants from November 21st, 2022. Anybody want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to public comment. Would anybody in the audience like to, we don't have a hot seat. Anybody wanna come up for a public comment? Guess you can just stay where you are if you got one.
Yeah, I am.
Go ahead. State your name, please.
Albans Town. You asked for input on what to do with that money that you got from the, I don't know if it's COVID response money or what, $1 million or something.
ARPA money, we call it.
Yeah, I think you should put a roof on the building at the park. That slate is pretty bad and you need to fix the windows that are broken so the rain and the snow isn't going in there and ruining the structure. And if you wanna keep the window on this end with a cord through it, drill through the wall, get an electrician. They can go right through that wall and put an outside outlet for you. so you don't have to have the window with a pane taken out of it for an extension cord. And I think that would be, solve your problem with water and everything over there. But that building needs to be maintained and it needs a roof.
I
Don't
think,
we-
I
don't
think
we
we're,
have to- Doesn't historic preservation get all over our butt if we do anything and they don't approve of it?
We
That's
have to
part of
ask
our
first.
problem. We have to clear it with them because it's a historic building. You just can't go and put new windows.
yeah, but we do have a plan,
Right.
right? We had somebody give us pricing on stuff, because we do have the Stonehouse fund for repairs, which I believe has, $100 grand, $80 grand in it. I think the roof replacement also entails the fascia and the soffit, that's
It
also
needs it.
failed down there. So, we're working on it, as you know, nothing moves fast, but, in this government, it seems like, but it's, we're definitely working on it. And I think the costs were a lot more than just $100,000 to fix everything. It was quite intensive.
Ready for me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the window's gotta be fixed. It's a window broken. It was just a little break in the window when they first started running the wires through. Now the window's got a foot round hole in it. It is on the lake side, and it's not stopping anything from going in there. Rain, snow, and what have you. I couldn't understand why you didn't fix it before. The simple solution, without getting anything from the federal government or getting any approval, put a damn piece of wood in it, plywood. Put your outlet right there. Or put a coupling for an outlet from the inside to the outside so you can run your wire through. That's the simple thing. The roof, when we got the building, the state had some guy that maintained slate roof. And we paid him then $250 a year. And every spring he'd come in and do whatever needed to be done on that roof. And when he left, the roof was good for another year, maybe two, because someplace else would need some attention. But $250 a year now, that's a few years back. But that's the ongoing maintenance that you need with an old building like that with slate roof. And that isn't anywhere near as old as some of the slate roofs around here. But that window's gotta be done. That's, you know, the fascia, yeah, that's a long-term project. You can do whatever you gotta do with it. The window's a problem. I don't know, I didn't notice if there any others. We don't usually walk in the front, we walk around the long side. But it needs attention. You can't slough that off for any other reason. It's just a broken window,
Put some
needs to be
plywood over
repaired.
that or something?
So we're gonna put out
Good. Thank you, Bob.
that big a hole, might as well have the window open.
Oh,
So opens like a ladder.
Yeah, it's not protected by any stretch.
Dave.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we'll take a look at that window tomorrow. I didn't even know there was one window put up here.
I think there's a couple.
And then we'll just, if we need to, we'll just.
Oh, here's okay, right?
I pretty much, yeah.
Good. Thanks, sure. I might go tell Ed, your sign's blowing off over there.
Carrie already told me.
And you don't fix it when somebody, before the night's over, I'm afraid. If I had something,
I forgot to
I'd fix
mention
it
something
myself.
else.
Okay, go ahead, Pat.
I hope you can find somebody to empty them dog trash cans. It's disgusting. The bags are falling on the ground and it is not attractive. It's horrible looking.
One near the opening gate.
Yes,
Has
and the other
been,
one.
that
Oh.
one's been done, but the other one on the inside closest to the store is still full.
If you pick up that barrel on the beach, set it inside the wooden gate, and put the trash in.
Maybe we could touch it.
If you get some every day. Instead of
Perfect.
running.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a public comment? Carrie, is anybody on Zoom?
Nobody is. Just at this- Amanda Junior.
Okay, perfect.
But I don't think anymore. No, there's nobody else here.
Okay. Moving on. Town manager report.
So the first item we have under my report is to have Dave Allerton, our new Department of Public Works Director, come
I'll come sit
forward, I
lots-
guess.
lots of it's
We
fun.
used to have a comment table. Oh, it's right there, front center. He's gonna talk about what he's been doing at DPW and the penned list, the ever-growing list. We're trying to get a better handle on keeping track of things.
Yeah, so I think in your package, you've got a long list of everything there, so you've probably seen all that, but just for the public, for everybody that's here, I'll go through the list of the things that we've been working on and some of the things that have been identified that need to be addressed. We'll take care of those windows tomorrow.
Yes, if you could just talk as loudly as you could comfortably, the acoustics apparently are rough in here.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the work the highway guys have been doing. You know, they've been, I started here mid of October, and they were cutting a lot of trees. We got a lot of trees removed. They told me about the beavers on Church Road, so we've gone out there a couple times and knocked down that dam. And we have come up with a licensed trapper to go out there and help us take care of the problem. I got the names of the people from the state finally. Started inspecting all of the vehicles that we had out there, just kind of for basics, you know, oil changes, air filters, wipers, you name it. So we started a spreadsheet. We're gonna start tracking all this stuff and try to get it online to where I can see it all the time, Karen can see it. We have been working on some of the plows, get those taken care of. We lost the spring on one of the big trucks, but that's been fixed, so we're gonna pick that up tomorrow. So, you know, we don't have a mechanic on site anymore, so some of that big stuff we have to take in. I've identified some culverts, just in the last couple of weeks, or since I started again. There's 2 on the Palm Shore that need to be replaced. There's that 8.5 footer on the French Hill. There's a potentially one on the industrial park that we could replace that could help mileage get in and out of some of their parking spots on their dock. There's just over here on Little County Road, we need to clean the culvert and improve some ditching over there. It's just filling up. And then on Lord Road, there's another one over there that we need to replace. I'm going to be meeting with Chris Brunel, the A&R, Agency of Natural Resources Stream Engineer. I'm just going to talk those through with him, make sure he knows what we're doing, and we'll keep him in the loop. We're teaming with a company called Auctions International. We're going to start auctioning off some of our extra equipment that we have that we're not using anymore, or ever used. We've got 3 paddle boats down there. To auction those off. We've got a vehicle, and then we've got a pressure washer, and just various other things that we're going to just start to sell off and get some money for. I have used this outfit before in the past, and we definitely get better prices than just putting it in the newspaper. We've got 2 at sewer pump stations. One of them recently had some work on it. That's at the north end. The one down at the Franklin Park, the industrial park there. It just needs cleaned up. You know, people have done work over there in the past, and whatever trash they've had, they just left it in there. So we're going to be cleaning all that up so that it's not a danger to go in anymore. They also patched a section of Prospect Hill. The next item is just talking about cleaning ditches, reestablishing the ditches, and getting them all up to current stormwater standards. I'm going to be reviewing the flow restoration plan that we've got for the 2 impaired streams, phosphorus control plans, stormwater management plans. And I'm going to have a long list of work to do next summer, so there's going to be a lot for the guys to do. We need to go out to the diversion structure on Stevens and Ruddy Brook, because that fence is falling down. I don't know if anybody has seen it in a while. I'm not sure anybody's looked at it in a while, but the fence is all full of brush. It's growing up in there. The posts are coming out. The gate is actually, the brush is growing through the fallen gate, and so people can just walk right in there. If anybody's been in there, there's a good 15 or 20 foot drop once you get in there. And we've got to get that fixed so we can.
Now that's when you come out of the industrial park on Mason?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Like behind SB Collins.
Yeah.
Right
Yep. My next item for them is just what I already said. There's going to be a long list of stuff to do between pavement patching, ditching, cross culvert replacements, and stormwater projects. So some of the other things I've been looking at is trying to find some funding opportunities. I know we've got several projects out there. I'll get to those later, but there's several grants coming up. There's transportation alternatives grants, downtown transportation funds, and then the Better Roads grants. Most of those Well, they can be used for various things, but most of what we need right now, I think, is some stormwater work. Definitely. I've been reviewing our winter operations guide that was approved, I guess, a year and a half or so ago. And I've been working on updating that to clarify some things. I'm also gonna be reviewing all of our current specifications, the DPW specifications, the roadway specs and whatnot, and see if I can get those, if they need improvement or not. We also need to get a health and safety plan in place. And then talk about your equipment maintenance logs. And we definitely need to revise the right-of-way permits that we do for curb cuts and utilities in the right-of-way. We just need to be more on top of all of those things. We get the permit application, we should approve them, we should go out and inspect them when they're done. And we've got a whole lot of records for those that I've been able to find. Trying to get some training going for the crew. None of them have had the 10-hour OSHA training, which is pretty much a must in our field. And then there's some stormwater training, road repair and maintenance training that we can get for free through Vermont Local Roads. That's a section of V-Trans. They've got a lot of webinars on site, or online too, that we can start if we have the guys watch. So we can talk about Grice Brook a little bit. So I know there's an issue out there with the road, big time issue. I did go out there and measure everything. I don't have a cost estimate yet for what needs to be done, but there's really not much that can be saved out there at this point. And in some places, the thickness of the pavement is only like an inch. So there's really no wonder that the thing has fallen apart.
So have you looked at the base on that?
I have not, I myself have not done any drawings or anything on the base, but I did see the report that you guys found that said back at the time that it was certified as the base was being constructed according to the spec.
To the A76?
Right, right, but I think that was before the pavement was down, right?
Right.
Right, yeah, so they must have cheaped down on the pavement or something because, but anyway, I'll come up with the price on that. The Bay Park water source that we've been looking at, well, the project obviously started before I was here, so we drilled a well. And at this point, we've got approval from A&R to do the pumping test, which is essentially a 48-hour pumping test, and you monitor the drawdowns. And then there's 9 wells within a 500-foot radius that need to be monitored too. So there'll be pressure transducers put in all those wells, at least the residential wells that they let us put the transducers in. We can't force people to let us do this. But then those will all be monitored to see if there's any effect on those wells from pumping of our well. When the pumping test is done, then the data will be analyzed and then water quality testing will be done. Because that one is what's called a transient non-community water system, so it is regulated by the state at this point. The V-Trans has started up their Exit 19 Route 104 scoping study again. So there's been one meeting on that. There was a Zoom meeting I held with some of the folks on that. So I think they're just trying to freshen up everything. I think there's still just the 2 options out there. One is to redo some kind of a traffic signal and make it work better, and the other is the roundabout. So where it's going to end up is unknown at this point. But as that advances, we'll certainly bring information to the board. So
That's probably years away, those.
I'm sure it's years away. Yeah. The next project is the health path. That's the path going from Collins Pearly out to the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail. So they've got several draft alignments for this. And I think where it was left before I got here was that the town needed to contact some of the homeowners or the landowners out there, like Collins Pearly, Grice Brook, the hospital, the retirement facility over there, and then some residents, and even Hardak, just to see what everybody's opinion was before they get too far down the line with it. And once, if we know what people are willing to allow us to do, then we can kind of focus on that. The new town hall water, I think when I wrote this, we were still trying to figure out what we were going to do with the effluent, but that's been determined since then. So the city is going to allow us to take the effluent over there. They said we can take 500 gallons a week for a cost of $35. And if you do the math, that's like 7 cents a gallon, which is right in line with what septic haulers have to pay when they take all their septic to a wastewater treatment plant to get rid of, so it's right in there. I think the one issue, it's not an issue, it's just something we need to overcome, is that there's no way to monitor how much water is in that tank out there right now, other than crawling up on top and opening the lid and taking a look. But we could put some kind of a float system in there that'll either trigger an alarm or a light or something.
You can get tank sensors that
Yes,
will tell your phone when it's,
Yep.
you have them in sat tanks.
Yep.
Tell you when you're gonna get it there.
it's a very simple thing to do, I'm just not sure.
When it's coming out the lid, just 500 gallons.
Yes, then we'll know that we got too much. So we'll keep ahead of that, so. Next item was paving. I haven't had time really to look at the paving plan that was in place and just figure out what roads are gonna be next. Or to even drive around and see if what roads are identified to be next really need it. But, we'll get there.
I can go with you if you,
Okay.
if you
I
want.
remember you said that before, and I will.
Somebody knows where they are and stuff.
The North Sewer Pump Station, so we did some work out there. We put what's called a mission control monitoring system on it. So now we can tell if there's problems or not, and the first thing we know is there's a problem. So there's what's called I&I going on out there, inflow and infiltration. So that just means we're getting extra water into the lines from groundwater or storm water. It could be somebody's storm drain from their roof is connected right into the sewer line or something, or to a catch basin out there. We just don't know at this point. But anyway, that's just something we're gonna have to look into and figure out, because I know it's not our sewer treatment facility, but you don't wanna send more water down to them than we should, think we have to. So there's some new town roads we need to submit to V-Trans to get accepted. So since we have formally accepted Ridgeview Ave now, we need to submit that to V-Trans. So we have to get all the documentation together for that. And then O'Leary Drive is still just a possibility at this point, so. Another project on the list I don't know a whole lot about right now is the decentralized sewer for the Bay Area. I believe there's a consultant on board, Hoyle Tanner. I just need to contact them and try to figure out where they're at and where we're headed. I'm still working with the RPC to get updated culvert and catch basin maps for the town. Best way to maintain our assets is to know what our assets are. So we're trying to get those all put in a computer so we have those and we can start monitoring and managing these. So some of the stormwater projects that are going, Clyde Allen Drive Stormwater Project. So the town has applied for a grant and they've got a $360,000 grant, and then we need a $90,000 local match because it looks like to me, from what I've found, is that the project budget is around $450,000. So the next step, I was approved by V-Trans to be the municipal project manager. So the next step then is to get a design consultant on board to help with that.
So what is the plan up there? I know we put in big new culverts 10 years ago or something or more, because the water was flooding Pearly and all that, so.
Yeah, so I guess it's just I can't answer that right now because I don't know enough about it. All I know is we got the money, and the next step is to hire an engineer to help us with scoping, planning, and design, whatever, okay? So then, once I know more, I'll definitely bring that into
So
you guys.
V-Trans did all that work in the median
Yeah,
to mitigate some of that flooding that we've had in the past. So that's gotta impact the need for those projects, or?
No, it's just in conjunction. So when we did our flow restoration plans, the FRPs, they prioritize all the needs that they did. V-Trans did one, we did one. So there's a number of projects, including the Clyde Allen Drive one that still does have to be done. They all contribute collectively to help reduce the flow of water, but they don't usually eliminate needs from others. Not yet, anyway.
right. And yeah, all those studies that we've done in the past have identified dozens of projects that need to be done, so we just have to kind of pick them off as we can. And I know that everybody in the state is going after the same pot of money to help build these things. So we just have to keep on top of it and try and keep,
But we're leveraging the stormwater utility
Yeah.
money to get all the grant funds, so it's good for the community.
I call the grant money OPM, other people's money.
Yeah.
So we want to leverage our money to get as much OPM as we can.
So I suspect on Clyde Allen, then they're gonna dig a stormwater pond.
I would imagine so,
Or
Yeah.
the culvert that flows out at a certain rate.
yeah.
Yeah, that is where gravel wetland of some sorts is probably gonna be over there, where the playground is currently. Yeah, gets flooded regularly.
So the next project I've got on my list is the Tanglewood Drive stormwater project. And I know what I've found is that it's got an estimated cost of over $500,000. And that according to the design engineer, we've got a set of construction-ready plans, or bid-ready plans. So now we just need to come up with the money somewhere somehow. Let's see, I've already talked about the flow restoration phosphorus control plans.
Did we have a grant for Tanglewood? Not yet.
Well, we had one 3 or 4 years ago, and when the bids came back, they were all twice as much as the grant budget, so we couldn't do it because we didn't have enough funds.
Sorry to hear.
So,
So now we're looking for grant money
do
for
we
it.
own that road now?
No, they would like us to, but they have to get their stormwater system upgraded first.
So are those homeowners putting in anything toward it, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, significant.
Yeah, they've already paid for the conceptual plan, we had to
When
then
was the last time?
have it revised.
I don't wanna speak at a school, but I wanna say it's around 90,000 was their share, last I heard, and that they had it on hand.
I don't remember, but it was significant, they had paid.
Whatever we put in, they match, and then the goal is to get the rest from grant
Correct.
funding.
25, 25, 50, so 25 for HOA, 25 from the utility.
And the biggest thing is, Tanglewood Drive, they would love to have us accept that as a town road and for us to plow it again, but you've got people on Meadowbrook in particular that are being flooded out by, if you go to, there's one gentleman, Chris Casser, who can show you videos of chairs being carried from his backyard down his ditch to his front lawn. When it comes out of the top of that pond, it will literally grab his lawn chairs and move them down the side of his house, and he'll find them in his front culvert in the morning. He got that on, his basement floods, and this is all directly related to that, so. It's definitely not just a Tanglewood issue, it's a quality of life issue for a lot of people that don't even live in Tanglewood.
Right, but it all started when developers went in there and gave no thought, because there was 3 culverts coming off that access road that just shot that water through that field.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the guy that hated it used to get buried there, stuck, and he got a house there.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for, what,
Long
15
time.
years?
50.
I've been gone for 10 or 12, and I come back and nothing's stopped.
It's been going on for 10 years after they built the place, and it was some of the errors were made here, and a lot of the errors were made by the developers.
Right.
Who were connected here, and somebody just kind of.
And they never
And
stepped
they
up.
understood, they knew, it's their responsibility to take care of that, like any homeowner, that association, but they couldn't get along with themselves. When last time you were around, when I was around, they couldn't get along with themselves and come to the conclusion, but the association, the place my daughter lives, you gotta mortgage yourself, and you gotta fix what's in your association
Right.
responsibility. You can't just expect the town to win, and that, I think I was here when we stopped plowing them, or maybe just after, and that was been plowing them for years, and then all of a sudden, whoa, we don't own those roads. We don't have any responsibility, we have no protection against liability if we're in there. So, this is their responsibility, unfortunately.
Well, any of those that we approved way back when I was on the DRB or whatever it was called, planning, I mean, that was the whole thing, and it was right in the covenants that the homeowners association would set the fees that would take care of plowing the road.
Yep.
And we knew it wasn't built to A76 standards back then. They had culverts about 6 inches wide under each driveway. I mean, it was just thrown together. Somebody made a lot of money and
Well, can't forget the history of that when we go start to decide to spend the taxpayers' money. The other one is Bryce Brook, I hear you mention that again. That was a gift too. And now, I don't know, have we accepted the roads?
No.
And why should we? Because they're part of their association. And just because it once was a town road,
but we're not even
No,
talking
given
about
to the
that part.
developer.
No, it wasn't even that part, Paul.
We're talking about just getting to the old town.
still, is that our road?
Not now, it isn't.
Then whose responsibility? It's not a taxpayer's responsibility to fix that.
Well, I would say the town has skin in that game.
Well, any developer would. But they just, this is the kind of thing that we're paying for and still talking about paying for. Like you said, 30 years? Yeah, it's at least 30 years. Both of them. It's funny to come to a meeting now and hear this, after 10 years or so, and hear the same names come out, the same words.
Sounds like something could have been done about it 15 years ago. We'll be talking.
It should have been done 15 years and 20 years ago when the problems developed.
Yeah.
When we stopped plowing them.
Now it's
everybody
worse.
cried.
Now
Now-
everything's in worse shape and the regulations are that much more stringent and everything costs twice as much.
Yes, they're shocked, but the other part of it though, in an equity side of it, is do they pay the same taxes as everybody else on a piece of road? And if they do, the job is to find the equity between what's their responsibility and what they're paying for and maybe not getting, like the plowing.
I think that's what the stormwater utility is trying to do, is trying to find the middle ground between their projects have a piece in our MS4 permit. We need to complete them for our own MS4 permit. We have dates that are set in stone that these projects need to be built by. And if along the way we can solve some problems for some private people, I think that makes a lot of
So the
sense.
association for their responsibility, do what we gotta do to take care of the people that are outside that are impacted. But going in those associations and doing anything.
Right now, you're talking about trying to solve it with 80% grant money, 10% from the town and 10% from the HOA.
Doesn't matter what you're trying to solve. It's money that you're taking from the taxpayers that could be used somewhere else.
We have no intention of taking it from the
I
taxpayers.
know, we
I
haven't
mean,
yet, we haven't
It's
yet.
like lobbing a grenade in a
But
municipal meeting.
Wouldn't it be nice?
I don't get the
Coming
water
back
number
on,
on.
Monday nights, that you get it resolved firmly, business-wise. Nice guys will finish last, and when it's easy to say I can pass it on because we slip it into the tax bill someplace, or we slip it into that $300,000 surplus that's always built into our taxes. That's.
I don't think we've ever done that ever.
Okay, I'm just
That
gonna,
doesn't make any sense.
we need to wrap this up because we're getting a little off our topic here.
That's a big deal, though.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's not, but we're gonna let Dave finish
Yes.
his portion.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the next item is the Grice Brook stormwater.
Sorry.
So apparently we have a preliminary engineering report that's 90% complete. And from what I've gathered from talking to people, it's like dumping water down to the cemetery, and the cemetery doesn't want it, so I'm not sure where that one is at this point, so.
That's a collaboration with the city too, because
Yeah.
that city town line is
Right there.
precariously close to where that comes out.
Right. There's water from the sash and whatnot,
Yeah.
that'll also need to be captured in that, so, yeah.
The next items deal with Parks and Rec. The Holly Jolly Jamboree raised $250 for Operation Happiness, and we've got a lot of non-perishable foods and toys to provide to them. And then John is working on some of the other events that are coming up, Mill River Classic Hockey Tournament. And he's working on a building maintenance program, because we gotta get something like that to manage all of our assets here, and then it's just coordinating bands and whatnot for the upcoming events, and then looking for sponsors, so. And that was kind of everything I had at this point. The rest will only grow from here. But,
Well, that's a lot, Dave.
yeah, I know it's a lot.
Busy.
Try to lever I mean, we've got a plan, like a capital plan conceptual for the local option tax and where we can put that money. Don't be afraid to use that as a funding proposal to wrap some of these projects up. I mean, for years, we've talked about putting significant money in the stone house. We've had low six figures to put into the stone house on hand for a number of years, and boards over time have chosen, we're just gonna do the doors this year, we're just gonna do the electrical this year, we're just gonna try to figure out the water this year. We need to tackle that. Like, if you can work with an architect, I don't know if Carrie would approve that, come up with a conceptual cost in today's dollars. If it's $1.2 million, let's talk about it, let's figure out how we're gonna fund that, let's put it on the ballot, let's get this over with, let's get it paid for. I mean, if we kick this down the road like we have Bricebrook and Tanglewood and everything else, it's gonna cost $2 million and the building's gonna be in even worse shape and people are gonna be dismayed. I would say, as you come across issues like that, even when you're working in the industrial park, if there's $1 million cost to do infrastructure that'll unlock 5 more lots, if there's a narrative for it, bring it to us every time, please. I mean, that local option tax needs to solve problems that would otherwise be paid for with general fund dollars to save taxpayers money in their tax bill and provide a higher standard of living. And it needs to be leveraged to create more commercial growth, which will affect the same, lower tax bill. We live in a community that, spends like we should have a $1 tax rate sometimes, and we only have 40 cents, and that's because of that industrial park and our other commercial centers. So whatever we can do to take that $1 million plus in local option tax dollars and fix these problems that we've been talking about, like we did with the town hall and the public works garage, and like we'll have to with the fire department at some point in the near future. Let's just start crossing them off the list and doing it the right way. To do it the right way, you're gonna have like years of buildup. And I wish that we did a little bit more buildup over the last couple of years. We did as much as we could take on with the 2 buildings that we built, but there's all of this federal money flowing through the state that a lot of which we're not really even ready to receive because we don't have shovel-ready plans. So I guess that's my meaning to email you or something. Don't be afraid to swing for it. If you see something that needs to be done and you can get a cost on it, I would take it here every time. Let's just get it over with.
Really, like that weekly report. we
That
get.
too.
Okay, good.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
it's
is
helpful.
very informative, we know what the heck you guys are doing.
That's the idea.
And I see you called our mower guy up in
I
Craftsville.
did. And well, I think he probably said the same thing that he's been saying to everybody else, is that the part's on the way.
Yeah,
Because I need to I'll call him again tomorrow, because I talked to him last week and he said he was gonna have it either at the end of last week or early this week. So,
like I told you, I went up there and
Yeah.
actually saw it, so it is there. And I got the same runaround. I think he was a little shocked when I walked through the door. The selectman from St. Albans Town was up in the woods of North Craftsbury. But I think we should try to get that back here,
Yes.
as soon as possible, so it's ready to go this spring.
Hey, would you mind going over the part that I missed when I was out? No, I just said, and I mentioned before everyone else came in, I'm not sick, I have asthma, and sometimes I just get a tickle that I can't touch with a cough, so I apologize for that, thanks for continuing on, but, and I also did a COVID test, I'm negative, so.
You got a guy up there.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I did read the rest of the report, so it's good.
Yes, I'm the chairman of the St. Albans Bay United Methodist Church, and I did talk to David, or he went out and cleaned the catch basin. We have a written contract with the town of St. Albans to make sure that rain garden is taken care of. Clean the brush out and make sure the plants are replanted. There was also 3 pillars that were there, and 3 of them are gone. They probably got ran into by maybe a snowplow. But, that rain garden is a written contract between the Bay Church and the town. And I'm hoping David will make sure it's taken care of. That brush out there, ridiculous.
So it's already been cleaned out?
The catch basin.
Yes. Yep.
The weeds that are dead out there haven't been.
Where is that?
I don't think we're gonna clean out, they're perennials that come back every year, so we'll talk about it. I know there's a contract, but I don't know that it meant we were gonna take and clean out all of the perennials every fall.
Trim it down so it looks decent.
We'll see, yeah, I'll review the contract, absolutely. I don't know if we're gonna put those pillars back, they were hit every year that we had some there. We're gonna have to come up with another solution to keep people from cutting the corner too much. Those marble posts didn't work out. We had, I think, 5 of them at one point.
I hope you guys will put in a speaker system here, so a lot of people that have a hard time hearing will hear it a lot clearer.
Yep, we are gonna do that actually as well. Speakers, microphones, and we're waiting to find out how the budget for this town hall project went in an effort to save taxpayers' monies. We wanted to wait until we had the dust settling, and we came in on budget, so now we're gonna fund some AV equipment. We actually talked to the manager at Channel 15 this morning about that. Yep.
Good, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so the next item, actually, we just talked about it, but the town hall. So we're sitting in the new town hall, which is pretty exciting. This is the first meeting. We're gonna do,
Ordinances on that.
excuse me?
The traffic and roadways ordinances.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over that. That's so fun, too.
Not much.
So the traffic and roadways ordinance you have in your packets is the one that's effective right now. That's the ordinance that lists all the speed limits and stop signs, and no parking areas. Look at it and see if anything stands out that needs to be changed. We're going to add the streets we've added to as town roads over the, last 3 or 4 years, so we're gonna add those anyway, like Ridgeview that we just added last month. So we're gonna have to revise it, so this would be the time to add more no parking areas or different things like that. So it wasn't put in your packets necessarily to vote on, but just so you could review it. You can scan it or drop off your notes to Jen and I, so that at our next meeting, we can start finalizing the draft. Dave's gonna work with Jen to add the new roads. And I actually sent an email to Bethany, who's the transportation specialist at Regional Planning, to refresh my memory on what you have to do now to add speed limits to roads. I know it's very specific, but I couldn't find the statute reference myself. That's homework.
Okay.
If there's still like no path forward to lowering the speed limit on McQuam to the heavily populated portion of it,
There is a path forward, but it's written down in state statute, and I don't know the state statute right now. But there is a path, but the select board doesn't have the power to do it without following that path.
can we, is there any kind of consensus towards even looking at doing that? That's the cheapest option we have in front of us to make the road more safe. Like
It's,
from the,
it's 40 on for.
yeah, I mean, at least from the campground, like from the camp, like just before Deer Road, maybe to just after Sampson Point or something like that, open it back up to 40, but even just after the Pike Farm, I don't know, but like, that's really, 40 is a lot, cause you post 40, people are gonna do 50, and you get 50 in a narrow, what is it, 11-foot lanes? And you have, now we're advertising for bikes, like I could, you know, I think Kayla White was a resident that made that point.
But I think there's a couple different issues when they look at speed limits, like, so let's say if you posted at 25, you know, people feel safe, but then there's the, you know, cause that area, I don't know if it's tough to patrol, they patrol it, but like, how much time can you put, you know, do you put officers there for 8 hours a day, you know what I mean, so then people have a false sense of security, and then you get the guy doing 70, you know what I mean, taking him out. I don't know.
Gotta start somewhere.
I know, but let Carrie get the information, how we do it, or what studies or whatever we gotta do to change it,
Yeah.
then we can see if it's feasible or.
We should definitely look at it, I mean, that area, if anybody else have another one that comes to mind, but like, just like, remember, was it Anagani, was ran off the road.
Well, that was by a, what was it?
Ag vehicle.
Ag vehicle of some
Or,
sort.
doesn't matter, but, you know, just as easily could have been a construction truck or something like that, you know.
We can look at it.
I mean, you seen that, the speed device, that monitoring device they have on Canada Street in Swanton? About halfway up, that monitors your speed going both ways, and it lights up white and blue and really bright if you exceed the speed limit. I'd be really curious to talk to, if we decide to go that route, I'd be very curious to talk with the Swanton Village PD and see if that's worked for them as a deterrent.
Does it record anything or just?
I don't know, I mean, I'm
Flash
sure it
or
could,
whatever.
I mean, those traffic devices seem to get a little smarter every year.
I don't
It's
think
like-
it tracks.
It just feels like one of those issues that we should respond to
But
before
it does,
something gets
but you
killed.
know, if you get, I don't wanna like single one group out, but if you get some 20-year-old in, you know, in a car, you know, I don't know
That's
if
what
that
it's
they do
a
all the
challenge.
speed.
Well,
limit.
that,
They
that's
don't
why I would
care.
wanna talk to them first, cause that's what came
Yeah.
to my mind, is people will try to turn it into a, you know,
TikTok challenge.
Yeah, something like
Who
that.
can make the light up?
Yes, Dave.
Those speed cards will, you know, tell you how fast you're going, and they will collect the data. And then you can run it for a week, and then you can get.
So it takes like video of the car enough to see the license plate?
Yeah, it's got some kind of a Doppler thing in there, and then it monitors every car that comes through, and it'll tell you that in that week that you had 200 cars come through, and the lowest was at 10 miles an hour, the fastest was at 100 miles an hour, and the medium is this, and whatever.
Just logs the car though, it doesn't take a photo.
That's correct, yeah, it's not.
yeah, it's not a patrol device.
It just tells you what's going on the road.
Yeah, maybe we should, I don't know.
Get you information.
Even if the town had to buy one and trailer it
That's-
around
yeah.
to get the data, like, I don't know, we've got so many, I mean, you've got all the different accounts. It just, like,
We're gonna find out from a law enforcement official if it's effective, right? And that's part of what we have to do with those regulations. And the state law about changing speed limits is,
that's a class 2 down there too, isn't it?
yeah, it
So that'll
is.
be a little harder, but, just, like, we already had a senior citizen run off the road.
We were gonna talk about safety at another time, probably. Yeah, it'd be probably best to do that. Yeah.
No, we're talking about a traffic ordinance and speed limits.
It's true, but we can't change the speed limit on that road yet.
We'll talk.
Yeah, we definitely won't forget about it. Cause we're gonna talk about it in 2 weeks again. Parking areas, I guess, are what you have more last week. We added no parking on bridges last time, which, I know, it shouldn't be, but people were parking on bridges, so we put that in there. If there's something else that you think obviously should be no parking, let us know. So that brings us now to town hall. We are sitting in new town hall, it's pretty exciting. The water obviously works. We've got all the systems working. Anna's got the vault mostly unpacked. She's still trying to find things. Zoning records are unpacked, assessing is, we're all operational at this point, with a few boxes maybe we're still searching for. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about the new town hall? We're going to plan a ribbon cutting, but it's just not yet. We wanted to let the dust settle before we did that. And we still haven't done one for the garage, so we can do a big one in the spring. That's all I have, other than the two different, Act 250 land use amendment that you got copied on, and the V-Trans comments from Park West.
Okay, so schedule. You all set, Carrie?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just mention one thing, John? I know I mentioned this in the past, but again, it's great to be sitting here. The fact that the voters passed the town hall, we had almost 3 years ago, before COVID, which I still think is amazing that was in early March. And here we are, less than 3 years later, it's built, and I still can't believe it's under budget, or at budget, we'll say.
Right.
It's at budget, we obviously need the audio system that we'll need to add, but just the fact that had we known when we passed it in March, knowing that prices of building material would go up, the cost of construction, the delays that came, that we'd be sitting here now 2 or 3 months maybe later than we could have
Right.
if the water stuff went perfectly. But all in all, I mean, I think this is just, it's amazing that we're here, we're at budget, and I think that's great. Thanks, John.
And I want to, to that point, thank our employees. I mean, every single person here stepped up and did a lot more work, maybe more physical work than we're used to. We were office workers, but we did it. You know, each person was responsible for their department. They organized it, they handled the move, and then the unpacking. So, in a week, it's pretty good. Pretty good work.
DPW did a lot.
DPW helped a lot. They came over and helped even our land records, you know, there's 400 volumes of land records and they're heavy and they have to be put in the right order. It matters. So, yeah, it was quite an effort. So
Okay.
thank you.
Schedule, the next select board meetings are Monday, December 19th and Wednesday, January 4th, starting at 6:30. And then on January 9th, we'll have a budget session starting at 5:30.
Well,
What day is that, Jonathan? The 9th, right?
Monday, January 9th, can we start at 5? Can you all make it here at 5?
I mean, yeah, we can always
What
warn
one are
it
we
that way.
talking about?
Monday, January 9th. Well, before we were I'll just throw out times.
When's the Christmas party, the annual lunch?
Just the employee Christmas thing is, the 16th.
During the day?
Yes.
Same time.
12, right? 12 till 30?
12 noon.
Yeah. We should try to make it to that food level.
So 5 o'clock, so our budget meeting is gonna be Monday, January 9th at 5. Food will be provided. And I have a couple executive session items, but no other things for open session.
Okay, so does anybody have any other business?
Yeah, I have one comment. I went to the last, and hopefully final, I don't know what the decision was, hearing with the DRB for Beta. And it was handled really well. They had a hearing where a homeowners association approached the DRB and the applicant, Beta, with a lot of questions, some of which weren't even related to the business before the DRB and they weren't really rooted in our bylaws. But Beta, as the applicant, went above and beyond. And I'm sure they hired people and used people that were already on their staff to answer all those questions. And they sat down with the HOA before their subsequent meeting and discussed it all, hashed it out. Everyone seemed to be happy. I wanted to say the brightest spot in the whole meeting for me was watching our new ZA, full ZA, AJ Johnson, run the meeting along with Brent Brigham. Get Brent and Jack confused sometimes.
How could you?
Yeah, I know.
I'm a handsome one.
Yeah, I don't ask him. AJ had a couple comments like, to the applicant, Beta, make sure you get me your building permit applications before we even get this decision letter out. That way I can get your approvals ready. That way when the DRB gives you your full approval, we can issue the building permits the same day. And we want to get this started. We know you're fighting the weather. What can we do? And I walked out with Beta and a few of the representatives, and everyone seemed to be really happy with AJ. And so that's. You want to talk about getting baptized by fire, one of your first major applicants being someone offering a fairly immediate 300 well-paying jobs in the community. I'm sure a lot was learned along the way by everybody, but she did a great job that night, and it was nice to see.
Okay,
John,
go ahead, real quick, Paul.
to the board, on the Beta issue, and the jobs. I should hear from the planning commission once in a while, so no idea, she won't talk about what's going on. What are we doing for those people as planning for their building new homes? Because we're full. And I understand from somebody that there's an awful lot of land that's not developed. But we've got 300 good jobs coming to the community. It'd be nice to get some of them living in the town rather than going to Fairfield or over to Bakersfield or wherever they can find land.
You can't build there either.
Can't build there either.
Everything's conserved now.
I
Yeah,
think 22% of the town is the land trust.
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
That's a major issue.
and that's the open lands.
So I think,
Vermont Land Trust, Wild Farms. They're not building it, belong to neighbors.
Yeah,
so my feeling is on it, like I know a couple people that have land throughout the area, and I think as, you know, if these jobs come to this area and there's a real need, you're gonna see, you know, some of these undeveloped 10 acres, 15-acre parcel of property be developed.
Like you see that
Because they're not
Firefly
in
Lane
land
on
trust.
Old Newton, the road out, put 4 houses behind existing homes. You see a lot more of that, I think. The private sector will solve that. I think there's enough people with land that would be willing to do new home starts.
Do we
It's just
have-
not gonna be like affordable, they're not gonna be,
I'm not talking about affordable, we're talking about good paying jobs,
Right.
good paying jobs.
well,
No
who knows what the
engineers
pay
yet.
scale will be. you know.
If you notice, Paul, you go up on, Prospect, that development.
Harborview.
Harborview is moved, they're in the last field up there where there's probably gonna be, that was approved way back for 300 homes alone up there. And they're nice homes and,
Yeah.
and they've
So
moved
we
into the
have
last
land.
spot.
We have land that's built, we have buildable land.
We've built
Even anything that wants to go through land conservation, we're gonna be discussing more with the towns.
Water,
Working on it.
we keep mentioning the $1 million a year, and I keep thinking about what the number was, gee, you know, 7 years or 8 years to pay for what they wanted. That's a big issue when people build. So I mean, if they're gonna build down here on the ridges along here, and open land down here, you know, they're gonna need water,
And sewer.
you know, pipes end at Lower Nason, was it Nason Street, down here by the, just up the hill from the firehouse, right by Brigham Road. So I mean, gotta be thinking forward for those, cause
Well, we have a scoping study out with Hoyle and Tanner, it's the one that David mentioned. We're looking at decentralized sewer systems for the Bay Area, so that would increase capacity and allow us to build out at more of a village size lot.
I see something going on in another town that I'm interested in, and I kind of follow what's going on where I came from years and years ago, more years ago than ever. It seems, they've got money coming in to take down buildings that, you know, on building lots, just take down what's there, they buy it up and tear it down, get it off the tax rolls or what, because they're not paying taxes to start with. Is there any of that available to us to go after some of these buildings that really aren't livable, aren't being lived in, and lots that need to be cleaned up and made available for development?
Wouldn't the private sector do that? I mean, I did that on a lot, bought a
Yeah,
house, tore it
I-
down, built the house back on.
You know, I understand that, but this is what's happening here, is it's within a city actually. And private sector doesn't do that, build it to turn your city into a place people wanna live. The city's got it when you get it, they're doing it with federal money. We're all doing it, even us up here in Vermont. We're all contributing that in a penny or so. But is there any federal money or grant money available to go in and prepare lots? The town would own them. Then, when the development time came, the town would divide them up, sell them off, recover their money.
Well, that just seems like it's
Go to the
competing
next
with
project.
private sector, like there are people out there that make their living doing that.
Well, the town might be able to do that, but we'd have to add staff. We are
Make it a
understaffed
nice
now.
big building,
You got room,
add stuff.
if they
Well,
make,
like how much do
if
you
they
want
make
to,
money for us.
how
Well, I
much
mean,
do
it
you wanna
just doesn't-
spend?
I don't know, I don't know what they're spending, I know they're tearing
Talking-
down a lot of industrial areas and reconverting.
Well, we're
City's
talking
doing it.
about,
The city's been doing it.
I will
Taking it-
make the argument that would be better done in the private sector.
yeah, I agree.
The public sector is too inefficient to do that efficiently.
Something that I can get permitted in a year,
Yeah,
just
probably
by
in our
how the red
structure,
tape
yes,
would take you
yeah,
6
you're
years.
probably right.
I think you just let the private citizen seize the opportunity and it sinks or swims on their back, they'll make it go. Public sector, less concerned.
You gotta be ready with infrastructure.
So there's some land that we actually own, and it's, I'm gonna cue Dave into some thought that we had, a thought that we had a couple of years ago. We've been approached by more than one party about subdividing land on Brigham Road for industrial use. Some rail related, some not. Now that we have a town engineer, it might make a lot of sense to devote some time this winter to having someone, you know, do a concept plan for a subdivision and moving it through the DRB. And figuring out, you know, if we can get some lots ready. And, you know, we're talking about trying to do what FCIDC does earlier in our budget meeting. We have the land available to us, and we have people that, I think if the lots were ready and marketable, we'd be able to create some commercial growth or industrial growth that would have very, very minimal impact to, I mean, our public works yard is right there, so what's it gonna do? Like, we're gonna have to plow a couple hundred feet of road, worst case, to get an amazing return. So,
Gotta make sure you don't impact the schools. School tax is high enough now.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You know this,
Yeah.
it's going to, it's got to. And
Schools, all right.
that's an issue for that,
that's how you
they're another municipality.
right. They've got plans in the works, we've checked them,
Yeah, okay.
they're working on it. It's gonna cost a fortune, you're not gonna like it, but they've got the plans. They're developing the plans.
You know, back when we built that school, the state wouldn't let us go anymore. The state wouldn't let us build any more than we needed back when we redid Central.
Mhm.
I mean, because, you know, we were thinking of the future, but we were stopped at what we currently had, and just think of what it would have cost to add another small wing back then as compared to what it's gonna cost now.
Now, the school board issue is another one. They've promised us a lot of things and have done really nothing other than eliminate maybe a superintendent and a couple staff people. And maybe save stuff on purchasing, but they've never,
You
Done
better
what
check
was-
that.
Hmm?
You better check if you think they saved us money.
I'm making a huge assumption on that. I'm being polite, because the best way to save money and provide for the future, not to belong to this meeting, is put all those kindergarten to fifth graders in one building, and the middle kids, sixth, seventh, and eighth graders in another building. If you wanna talk about equity in education, you know, that allows you to teach people better and easier, and to select the gifted kids. They did it before, when my kids were coming up, they selected gifted kids, but we didn't, there were only 4 of them in the whole class of probably 200. But they isolated it, so to speak, and they were segregated, but they were still with all their students, all their friends. But when you've got 2 fifth grades, or 3 fifth grades, or 4 fifth grades, in 2 different schools, and a couple sixth grades in 2 different schools, you can do a lot more if you put all those children in the same building. And
Just say
then,
combined city and town,
if they did combine city and town schools, one district.
but 2 different schools.
It's another meeting.
We tried that.
Yeah, it's
It might be
another,
worth trying again.
yeah, we got a couple in there.
Well, that's
I
what's,
think school board meetings Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We were combined when I was at the
Are we
base
voting on
school.
that?
The 7th and 8th grade was in the gym, and we had to all stand outside while the rest of the kids ate.
Okay, I have one other thing. I wanna, thank all the first responders, the EMSs and the police department that dealt with the issues on Aldous Street and all throughout Franklin County this weekend. Just thanks.
There's a lot.
I guess that fire was huge on Aldous Street. The videos were just,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say
Scary.
incredible,
It's
yeah,
scary.
scary. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scary, not knowing.
so,
We got good people.
for sure. Okay, other business. Anybody wanna make that motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, what's the reason going into executive session?
You're gonna hear that right here. He'll let you know
In the motion.
in the motion.
He's gotta read the motion.
There is a motion.
It's contractual and personnel, I'll clarify.
Okay, right here. I make the motion to go into executive session to discuss a contractual and personnel matter where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage. It is further moved to enter into executive session to discuss a contractual and personnel matter under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of Vermont statutes to invite in Town Manager Carrie Johnson, Al Wojel, Interim Director of Operations.
Second that.
Good.
Did I do it wrong?
No, you did it fine, and the consultant.
44/7
Oh,
strategies.
Town Manager, and 44/7 consultants.
Now I second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Executive. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.